Good morning, everyone. Good to see all of you here physically and all of you out there in Zoom land. It's wonderful to see everyone this morning. So this morning I'm going to talk about the Heart Sutra, which I swear I did not know was going to be the study text for Summer Ango when I prepared this set of notes. I led a workshop yesterday, and so I have 13 pages of notes. So buckle up. No, we will not cover all 13 pages of notes. I will talk for a while until it seems like I've talked enough, and then I will stop. So we'll just go through this and see how much we get to. But it's I asked our abbot whether it was okay to talk about the Heart Sutra today, and he said perfect timing. So here we are. So a little bit of history or background, not much, but I'll give you a little bit. There are lots of books that have been written about the Heart Sutra. Red Pine's long commentary on it is actually quite wonderful if you have an interest in that sort of thing. Basically, I guess what I will say is that it's a very old sutra. It was probably written in the 1st century AD by a Buddhist monk in India, and was later translated into Chinese by someone named Chi-Chen around 200 or 250 AD. So it's very, very old. And it's one of about 40 texts that are called the Prajña Paramita Sutras. And the Prajña Paramita literature was a rebuttal to a philosophical framework called the Abhidharma that had been developed by a sect called the Sarvadivastins in early Buddhism. So the Abhidharma was actually created to explain the Buddha's many, many discourses in some sort of structured philosophical framework. So it describes our experience of reality as a succession of dharmas, which are said to have existed since the beginning of time. Physical and mental processes that arise and cease subject to causes and conditions. And there's a complex taxonomy of these processes or dharmas, and they were considered to be the building blocks of our experience. And I have not studied this, so we're not going to go into the Abhidharma. Do not worry. There are 75 basic types of experience, and they have various conceptual categories and relationships. And so according to this early Buddhist thinking, the path to liberation was to develop an intimate knowledge of this complex system through our meditation practice. The Mahayana thinkers that developed, thinking that was developed as this Prajña Paramita literature was written, believed that this kind of analytic framework did not lead to liberation. And so the Heart Sutra refutes or rebuts the thinking of the Sarvastivadins. In the Prajña Paramita thinking, all dharmas are impermanent and without self, and they are empty. So these are sometimes called the emptiness teachings. And in essence, realization of the reality of emptiness is all we need to become Buddhas. Fatsang says the Heart Sutra is a great torch that lights the darkest road, a swift boat that ferries us across the sea of suffering. So the title, Maha Prajña Paramita Hridaya Sutra, the great or boundless. Prajña is often translated as wisdom. It is knowledge before knowing. It's wisdom before knowing. Paramita is often translated as highest or most distant or perfection. But the translation I like better is parama, which is beyond. Sorry, para, meaning beyond, and mita, meaning the further bank, so or the other shore. So the Prajña Paramita Heart Sutra is the wisdom before knowing that leads us to the other shore. Hridaya is the heart or center or essence or most dear part of something. So this is a truly essential teaching in our lineage. So the heart of wisdom leads us to the other shore. What's the other shore? Te Ching says, the suffering in the world of samsara is like an ocean. Sentient beings dwell in the world of desire, and in their ignorance they continue to be reborn in this suffering from which they cannot escape. The Buddha's teachings allow beings to put an end to desire and to put an end to suffering once and for all. So what is this teaching? Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, doing deep Prajña Paramita, clearly saw the emptiness of all the five conditions, thus completely relieving misfortune and pain. So Avalokiteshvara, as most of you know, I'm sure, is the Bodhisattva of compassion. The name means the Lord who looks down. The Chinese name for this Bodhisattva is Kuan Yin, and it has the connotation of one who hears and responds to the cries of the world. Of course, we're also bodhisattvas, so anytime a bodhisattva is mentioned in literature, you're looking at that bodhisattva as an archetype of that which we also are. So Avalokiteshvara is in zazen, in sitting, in deep samadhi, practicing the wisdom before knowing that brings beings to the other shore. Dogen refers to it as dropping body and mind. Every time we sit, we're practicing Prajña Paramita, dropping body and mind. We used to have retreats at this old house up in the Hudson Valley called the Grail House. Some of you may have been there. And I was often assigned a cushion next to a window that looked out on the grass outside of the Zendo. And of course, just like here, during most sitting periods, we sit facing the wall. And so I found myself facing the open window. It was summer, and in the afternoon, this hot breeze would just kind of waft in through the window, and the curtains would kind of ripple a little bit, and then it would waft out again. I would have preferred a cool breeze, but it was a hot breeze that was wafting in and out. And so, after many periods of sitting, you may have experienced this. I just sat there, feeling the hot breeze and looking at the sun on the grass. Thoughts would arise and fall away, but never really take hold. Prajña Paramita. So doing deep Prajña Paramita, Avalokiteshvara saw the emptiness of all the five conditions. The five conditions is another name for the five skandhas, or the five aggregates, thus completely relieving misfortune and pain. So again, what is emptiness? Shunyata in Sanskrit. Everything in our experience is without a fixed, enduring nature. All things are completely independent, without boundaries. Can't really explain it, but we can experience it in our zazen. Kaz Tanahashi offers a new translation of the text that he did with Joan Halifax, where the first line here is that Avalokiteshvara sees that all five streams of body, heart, and mind are without boundary and frees all from anguish. So the five conditions we'll come to in just a minute. They're explained in a little bit of detail. But the essence is that everything in our experience is empty and without self. Everything arises due to causes and conditions that are far too vast and complex for us to understand. Now, when we're deluded, we see everything inside this skin bag as me, and everything in the universe is outside me. And Yasutani Roshi used to illustrate the idea of delusion with an example of two hands. So what would happen if our two hands were deluded beings, and someone put some money in the left hand? Well, the right hand would immediately start to get jealous because the left hand got money and it didn't. Or what would happen if the right hand was somehow caught in a fire? The left hand would have to think, well, he's burning up, but do I really want to get involved? They're deluded because they don't see that they're all part of one body, as we're all part of one body. In reality, our hands are not separate, just as we are not separate from anything else in the universe. How can I possibly be separate when all of the causes and conditions that have led to me are part of me? I had nothing to do with most of them. So seeing the emptiness of all the five conditions, seeing non-separation, relieves misfortune and pain. Ken MacLeod in his book says, step into the jaws of experience. This is Prajña Paramita, just stepping into the jaws of our experience and really being present to our lives and to what we're experiencing. So the next lines actually go a little further into what these five skandhas are. So it's the sutra goes on, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, and no Did I miss a section? I might have missed a section. Yeah, I think I want to go here first. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is exactly emptiness, emptiness exactly form. Sensation, conception, discrimination, awareness are likewise like this. So form is this body right here, your body, and how you experience the world through your body, all of your senses and your mind. And this body is empty. It is impermanent and without self. And we know this. We actually know this intuitively. So form, this body is defined by the absence of any permanent self-existent nature. I'm not the same body that I was when I was a small boy. In fact, I can tell you every morning when I get out of bed that with the aches and pains that it's not the same body. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. The absence of any sort of permanent self-existence is intrinsic to all things, to everything in your experience. So form is the first of the five skandhas. It's form, sensation, conception, discrimination, awareness. These are the sum total of our experience. And they are likewise empty. So that our bodies, we understand, this is what we perceive through our senses, the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mouth. Sensation is feelings. What is the experience of what we're perceiving? Do we dislike it? Is it a pleasurable sensation? Is it a neutral sensation? Conception are our thoughts that immediately arise after the bodily sensations and the feelings. How do we label or conceptualize that experience? Discriminations are mental formations, are judgments that arise immediately after we label the experience. And awareness is our consciousness of this entire process. So actually in Enkyo Roshi's book, she attributes this little story to Joshin Roshi, but she says Joshin explains the five skandhas with a kind of humorous anecdote. You're sitting in the Zendo, and you notice a kind of a bad smell. And your first, so that's the sensation, the bodily sensation. Then the next thing is we label it, or we react to it. We don't like it. It's not a pleasant sensation. Our conception of it, somebody farted. And immediately after, like, oh God, they really need to see a doctor. And then finally, as we become aware of what we're thinking and the smell, which we continue to smell, we realize, well, someone's just cooking cabbage in the kitchen. We mislabeled the experience entirely. And it was just, I had misread it. The example was sometimes used of, you see a stick on the ground and you think it's a snake. It's just a stick. But these 5 steps, this is how our experience works. And as we sit, as we drop body and mind, we essentially arrest the process closer and closer to just experiencing the bodily sensations. And we don't allow those thoughts and feelings and interpretations and discrimination to arise. And it's not like we can be in this place of emptiness all the time. But the wonderful thing about this teaching is that you don't have to experience it a lot to actually begin to develop an understanding of the emptiness of your experience. And once we begin to understand the emptiness of our experience, it's just a little bit easier not to attach to it, not to give it so much weight. So these 5 skandhas are really, really crucial, and it's so important that Avalokiteshvara says it twice. Form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is exactly emptiness, emptiness exactly form. Sensation, conception, discrimination, awareness are likewise like this. So another way of saying it is that the 5 skandhas are an illusion. Our separation is an illusion. Illusion, delusion, whichever word you want to use. Kaz says that another word for emptiness is boundlessness. Because if we're not separate, then we are not separate, we are interdependent, we're boundless. This is seeing reality as it is. This is the Prajña Paramita. So that's what this whole sutra is trying to say. So it goes on. All dharmas are forms of emptiness. All phenomena are forms of emptiness. Not born, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, without loss, without gain. So all of these things dissolve in emptiness. Not born, not destroyed. If things are empty of any self-existent nature, permanent things, things which are permanent things, don't come into being, and they don't die. Everything just flows. Not stained, not pure. I don't think very often in terms of purity or stains, but I think this language comes from the idea that attachments were referred to as defilements or impurity. But in emptiness, there's nothing to attach to. Without loss, without gain. There's no self. Nothing to lose, nothing to gain. And this is where the sutra really begins to open up for me. Because although I don't think in terms of impurity or defilements, I do often have the sense either that I'm not good enough, I'm flawed, I'm defective, I'm not perfect, or alternatively, sometimes just minutes later, I'm a really good person. I'm very moral and upright and intelligent and self-aware. All empty. It's thoughts. So in emptiness, there is no form, no sensation, conception, discrimination, awareness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, phenomenon. The first line negates the 5 skandhas, which are all empty. The second line negates the 6 sense bases and 6 sense objects. So I just want to go a little bit further because there's one other important point I would like to make about the sutra. Because as it goes on, it says, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, which summarizes the emptiness of the 5 skandhas. Sight is one of the 6 sense bases, and consciousness is the last of the 5 skandhas. So no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance and no end to ignorance, no old age and death and no end to old age and death. So this negates the 12 links of dependent origination. Because ignorance is the first of those links and death is the last of those links. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no extinguishing, no path, no wisdom, and no gain. This negates the 4 noble truths. The teachings are empty. The teachings are concepts to guide us, but they're not things to attach to. So this is a very, very radical sutra. In the context of the Prajña Paramita, suffering is empty. There is no self that suffers. If suffering and self are empty, there is no source for our suffering. The mind is originally pure. This is the truth of suffering. Our nature contains all dharmas. There is nothing to seek, nothing we can attach to. This is the truth of the cause of suffering. Delusions don't arise because there is no self to be deluded. This is the truth of the end of suffering. Nirvana and samsara are empty and interdependent and ultimately not real. This is the truth of the path. So this is a very profound shift in thinking in early Buddhism, sometimes referred to as the second turning of the Dharma wheel, which overturns this conceptual approach to practice and brings us back to direct experience of our lives. That is what the Prajña Paramita Sutra is teaching us. So I won't go on because I'm kind of at the time that I usually like to take for a Dharma talk. But let's go to the last section, because the last section is a profound shift from the earlier sections. The earlier sections are really this sort of refutation or rebuttal. The last section is living Prajña Paramita, which is far beyond deluded thoughts. This is nirvana. All past, present, and future Buddhas live Prajña Paramita. Red Pine actually says this was the Prajña Paramita writers claiming all of the previous Buddhas, so there was a bit of polemic in this line as well. But all past, present, and future Buddhas realized emptiness and therefore attained perfect, complete enlightenment. Anyatara Samyak Sambodhi. So again, I don't want to go through it too much more, but we end up with this wonderful mantra, which is the last line of the Heart Sutra. And when I was exchanging email with Shinryu Roshi about this talk, I said, well, gosh, I have 13 pages of notes. What are you going to say? What should I say? And he says, you only need one line. And of course, the line he was referring to was the last one. Gate, gate, paragate, parasam gati, bodhisvaha, Prajña Heart Sutra. Gate is gone, or ferry across. We're being ferried across the ocean of samsara into the womb of wisdom. Paragate, into the gone beyond, well beyond. Parasamgate, into the gone completely beyond, together. Bodhi, enlightenment, svaha, right now. In Bodhisvaha, I remember the first time I heard Enkyo Roshi give a talk about the Heart Sutra. She said, Bodhisvaha has the feeling of, hooray! Enlightenment right now. We can experience enlightenment in an instant, just as we can experience delusion in an instant. So in Ken MacLeod's book, he says, you can, if you wish, figure out what this mantra means. You won't be the first. Whatever you come up with, just put it over there with all of the other Dhamma. So I'll end with a short poem by Rumi. When you talk, say not a word. A white flower grows in the quiet. Let your tongue become that flower.